Yeah, well, that's just like your opinion, man.
Yeah, yeah, oh yeah, what condition my condition was in.
Alon, are you a Conan guy?
Conan O'Brien?
Yeah.
Oh, I used to be. Yeah, when he was on TV, I would watch the Conan O'Brien show all the time. I even watched him when he moved to what was it, TBS?
TBS, yes, very funny.
Oh yeah.
No, he was on NBC for years, and then famously was kicked off of the Tonight Show because of the whole thing with
Jay Leno.
Jay Leno. And then he did a show on TBS for quite some time. Not the same as the NBC show, Late Night with Conan O'Brien.
Oh.
And then he's been out of the late night game for quite some time. I think about 5 years now. He does this great travel show, Conan Must Go, on HBO Max. I highly recommend it. It's been the funniest thing I've seen in quite some time, is where Conan just goes abroad and just fucks with people.
Okay.
And tonight he's hosting the Academy Awards. Are you a big movie guy or Oscar guy, or not really, Alon?
I watch the Oscars every year.
Oh, sweet. Okay, well,
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah. I also watch. I don't know if you know. Are you familiar with Tim Heidecker from like?
Of course.
Okay.
Eric and Tim, awesome show.
Yeah. Do you know about his On Cinema at the Cinema internet show?
I want to say I've seen clips, but I don't know if I've seen. I've seen so many different things where they did like the baking show, where it's literally them just like mixing something, but way too long, and then it gets all over the place. Like, yep, keep stirring, keep stirring.
Yes, exactly. So he has one. It's called On Cinema at the Cinema. It's been running for like 10 or 11 years now.
Okay.
And every year they do an Oscars show as well. So I
simultaneously with the Oscars going on.
Yes. And so
that's incredible.
Actually, for like 2 years ago, I started just watching that instead of just the main Oscars. So I'd record the main Oscars and then watch his show. But no, it's really good. But yeah, no, I love the Oscars. I wish it wasn't so damn long all the time. Sometimes
it's always long
fluff, but yeah, no, it's good. I love movies, so I don't always agree with who wins. Like, for instance, not to get too down the road of Oscars, but what was it, about 2008? The Wrestler should have won, and it did not. Like, that's bullcrap. Mickey Rourke should have won for The Wrestler.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. God, I'm trying to remember that year of who won instead of Mickey Rourke. It's 2008.
I want to say it was. I always get this one messed up, but I thought it was. Yeah, so like Sean Penn won it, and he did deserve it too.
For Milk?
For Milk, yeah. And Sean Penn's awesome, but it's like, I don't know if that was like Mickey Rourke's best chance ever of getting something.
Yeah, and nothing close to get another Oscar. His performance is like was it the guy with the electric whips and Iron Man 2? Not gonna
that's not getting it done.
Oscar love. Yeah, the Oscars are tonight, and I'm looking forward to it because I love Conan. And I do love the Oscars. I will say, in recent years, the movies have been kind of downers. And I would say this year we saw kind of a resurgence. I liked One Battle After Another and Marty Supreme, Sinners, all those in contention tonight. And I will say the ceremony has been not as fun as in years past. Things going on in the country and people want to be very political. I get all that, but I want to laugh. So I'm looking forward to Conan hosting tonight, and we get some goofy moments. But later on the show, we'll talk about the Oscars and who we think could come away with some hardware tonight, the little naked gold men statues. But just your opinion, man. Alon to say, Derek Papa, long week of the fuckery, the frenzy, and really the Maxx Crosby thing taking us, through a whirlwind of like, whoa, okay, it was the biggest trade of the offseason, and then it's not happening, and now Maxx Crosby's back. We'll talk about it with a guy that's been on the show in the past, your boy Q Myers, going to join us. He's on Raider Nation Radio in Las Vegas, also the host of the Locked On Raiders podcast. He's also on ESPN Radio. Was doing a show with Joe Fortenbaugh for a little bit of time, but now he's on ESPN Game Time at Night, so we'll talk to him. Looking forward to that. But yeah, Alon, today also is Selection Sunday. Do you do? I mean, you're in Las Vegas and you're a gambling guy. You do a bracket every year?
I didn't do a bracket last year, actually. I play the games sometimes. I'll I'll go wager. But I actually didn't do a bracket last year. I'm gonna hopefully, with the PhD schedule, Derek, it's been difficult to focus on
No, I get that.
bracketology. But I usually do a bracket. Are you a bracket guy? I think brackets too. It depends on the environment you're in. So like in my academic environment, no one really gives a shit about it, unfortunately. In my media environment, everybody does. So I think if you're in the right environment, brackets are very much fun to do with other people.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest. I'm not a huge college basketball guy. So later on the show, I'll ask you about. Have you been paying attention this year, Lon, or not really?
Oh yeah, no, I've been watching.
I'll ask you. I mean, by the time we're done today, the bracket won't be out, but I'll just get your opinion on as far as like who is the favorite at this time. But I've never been a huge college basketball guy. I rarely watch in the regular season. I may go down to see the SF Dons every once in a while. St. Mary's. Actually, need to make a trip out there to Morago, but I never have. But when it's college basketball time, when it's tourney time, as Tom Tolbert used to call it once upon a time, or still does actually, I get into it. I like watching. I don't know what the hell I'm doing when I fill out a bracket. I've always filled one out because I've worked at radio stations, and that's just the camaraderie thing to do. Even in high school, all my buddies were into it, so we all filled one out. I usually do very poor, but it's just a fun thing to do. Even if you're not into college basketball, like it's a workplace thing. I feel like it's just a fun thing to do, along with like Super Bowl squares. People that are not into sports still fill out NCAA tournament brackets.
No, it's super fun. Yeah, it's the same thing. You're right. Super Bowl squares, it's very similar, except this is a month long and it gets everybody involved, and everybody generally catches at least a couple of games. I have a buddy who works at a place down in Texas, and it's for a company that Warren Buffett owns, and he's got this challenge. Yeah, he
sounds lucrative.
My buddy works at a chemical plant, but
okay.
Anyway, it's
not
still,
that lucrative.
It's still a good job. Yeah, no, he's not doing the Warren Buffett stuff. But anyway, he's got this deal Warren Buffett does, where for all his companies, if you fill out one of many, exactly, Ernie.
Thank you, Ernie, for being the lone guy in the chat today, along with Tribe 69.
Yeah, but he's got this deal where if you get a perfect bracket, and I think you're given up to one screw up in the bracket too, where you get $1 million every year for the rest of your life.
Huh. Interesting.
So that's the company to go get a job for around March Madness season. You go find a Warren Buffett company, you fill out your bracket, and then you leave. And then every year you rinse and repeat, and you try to win that $1 million for the rest of your life.
Very interesting. Well, yeah, I don't know if we'll have that luck, but let me. We'll ask you about it later on the show, along with the WBC. I think it's the quarterfinal tonight with USA. They beat Canada, and Canada's having a rough couple of months here against USA in sporting events when it comes to the Olympics, men and women. And the other night, with USA advancing over Canada, thanks to Logan Webb. And tonight we're playing Dominican Republic. And that's at 5:00. So we'll talk about that a little bit later. But let's start with the frenzy, the fuckery along, as more moves came in. And actually, we can't react to some moves we didn't get to because the Maxx Crosby thing kind of took over the podcast the last few shows. But for the 49ers, they get a fan favorite back. Dre Greenlaw returns to the 49ers after a year with the Denver Broncos, signs a 1-year, $7.5 million deal. And I think that fans are happy about that. Nobody wanted to see Dre Greenlaw leave initially. But, there were reports out there that he wanted to, command his own defense. And there were rumors about him leaving well before free agency, where I think he's very close with Fred Warner. And the two of them and their significant others went out for, I think, a dinner. And that's where Dre's told Fred Warner he's going to leave. That led to like some Instagram post where it kind of, alluded to that. And then Dre Greenlaw last year signs, I believe, a 3-year contract with the Denver Broncos. I think even John Lynch, after he signed the deal during the legal tampering period, tried to, tell him, hey, forget the Broncos and your commitments, come sign with us. And he was like, no, it's too late now. And I know that, John Lynch probably was thinking, I don't know what type of player Dre Greenlaw is going to be after the Achilles tear in the Super Bowl. Well, that was just heartbreaking. It wasn't even a play. It was just him, reacting on the sideline, jumping up in the air, and then boom, Fred Warner saw him tear his Achilles. He knew immediately, and some people would say that's the reason they lost the Super Bowl. Then he comes back a year later, only in 2 games against the Rams and the Miami Dolphins, but plays a game and a half. And with that tape, it wasn't enough for the 49ers to feel comfortable signing him to a long-term deal. So, and he wasn't healthy with the Broncos either. He probably failed his physical, but they went through with the contract, funny enough. And he missed the first 8 weeks of the season and then played the final 8 or whatever it was and played well, but not enough for the Broncos to feel comfortable giving him that amount of money. So he's back with the 49ers, commanding that defense along with Fred Warner. And I think it's a solid move. I don't know what type of player I don't know what type of player Dre Greenlaw is anymore, but I think it's just a good depth piece to have veteran presence on the linebacking core. And now you got obviously Fred Warner with Tatum Bethune, D. Winters, and now Nick Martin can learn behind these guys as well.
Yeah, no, it's great. And they do get him for bargain bin discount deal because of I'm assuming that's still the lingering issue with him is the Achilles, but 2 games, in 2024, 8 games this past year. So that's the problem right now with Dre Greenlaw. He's got to be on the field. But if you have the opportunity to bring a guy back like Dre Greenlaw, a really darn good linebacker, one of the best in the league until the Achilles injury happened, you do it. And for $7.5 million, it's perfect.
No, I agree. I think that, there was rumors about this. I thought that maybe Dre Greenlaw was going to sign with Tennessee. But then again, he played for Salah for a little bit of time, but not enough where I feel like there's a strong connection there. He really is tied at the hip with Fred Warner, and it hurt him to leave. And you could see the defense was not the same without him. Again, I don't know what type of player Dre Greenlaw is going to be, but it's clear that this defense needed a ton of help. And that's why they went out and got Osa Odighizuwa, and they got Dre Greenlaw because their linebacking core took a hit after Fred Warner went down. Like Tatum Bethune did his best, but I think he should be a rotational linebacker and not one of your starting linebackers. He had good performances against the Falcons, but really it definitely took a hit. D. Winters, I think, showed that he should be part of that linebacking core as well. But it solidifies a spot now where I think he's going to be the starter initially, and then maybe the young guys come in there later on. I don't know how much football Dre Greenlaw has left, and that's unfortunate because maybe this injury impacts the rest of his career. But I think it's a solid move just to get some veteran presence back in the locker room.
Yeah, no, it is. And he's been there, done that with them. And I think it's always, like you said, veteran presence. It's a good move to bring a guy like that back. And if he does have anything, even as just a rotational player, that's a massive upgrade because Winters, he played every game last year and he played well with, over 100 tackles, but it's nice to give a guy a spell every once in a while. Not just that, but Dre Greenlaw, super intelligent player. And I know it didn't work out in Denver, probably because of just the health mainly. And if he was healthy, he would have had another amazing season, but he'll be able to at least coach some guys up like you're saying.
No, definitely. And then the Niners also made another move, signing Nate Hobbs, who we know with the Raiders. Injury prone in his time with Las Vegas, but stood out as a nickel corner. Signed a 4-year deal with the Green Bay Packers a year ago. Kind of the same deal where the Niners are going after guys that went out inside big-time contracts but failed, whether it was injuries or just poor play. I think the thing with Nate Hobbs a year ago was they had him out of position. They had him at outside corner when really he's better as a nickel corner. And Jonathan Bullard was their guy with the Packers a year ago. So it just wasn't going to work out. So Nate Hobbs very well, Alon. What do you think the Niners are getting in him at this point?
Well, I think it's the same thing with Dre Greenlaw. So Nate Hobbs' problem last year was he had 3 separate knee injuries, Derek, and he was only able to see the field in like 11 or 12 games, only made about a handful of starts. So if you get a healthy Nate Hobbs, you're getting an absolute dog in that, slot kind of nickel corner position, but it's all dependent on the health. And he's very good at that one thing. He's a great inside corner, but you can't really put him outside on an island. He just doesn't have the wingspan, the size to be out there, I don't think. But if he's able to see the field consistently, play that kind of slot nickel spot there, he's really good around the ball. He's a great tackler. It's another really good, I would say low risk, high reward kind of move because, you're not signing him for very much money, and you've seen what he can do in the past. It's just a question of the health, and the health has been an issue for Hobbs. I mean, I know everybody's going to pick on the fact that he's not able to see the entire lifespan of that four-year contract with Green Bay, but the health has kind of been an issue with Nate for the last couple of years, right? I'm just pulled up his Football Reference here. So I mentioned the 11 games last year with Green Bay, but yeah, in 2024 with Las Vegas, 11 games, 2023, 13, 2022, 11. I mean, he hasn't played in a full slate of 16 games or 17 games since 2021. That was when the schedule was still 16 games. So, it's another guy that you have to hope, if he's healthy, he's definitely going to be a contributor. If he's not, maybe you stash him on the roster and see if you can get him healthy and then re-sign him for the next year, or if it's one of those situations. That being said, Nate Hobbs will probably do whatever he possibly can in his power to be healthy for the season. I'm sure he's doing that. And if he's able to play the entire season, I think it's a really good value pickup.
And then there might be a move coming up here, as yesterday Nick Bosa converted $21 million of his salary this season into a signing bonus, clearing up $17 million for the cap. And a lot of people believe that Nick Bosa wouldn't do that for a lot of guys, except for his brother. And his mother posted something on Instagram last night where it's a photo of Nick and Joey Bosa, both in Niner uniforms. She did that a year ago too, but in the end, Joey Bosa signed with the Buffalo Bills. I do think there's more momentum towards Joey signing with the 49ers this time around. So we'll see if that move comes to fruition here. But what would you think, Alon, of a Bosa brother tandem on the defensive line?
I think it's
Bosa and Osa.
Yeah, Bosa and Osa. Bosa. Bob. B.O.B. Shout out B.O.B. Anyway, I think it'd be great. I think it's something that Niner fans have wanted to see for a long time. I think it's something that the Bosa family has wanted to see for a long time, and you get an opportunity here. Once again, it's all about health. I hate it so much because it's what we always talk about with the Niners over this past 6 years or whatever. But, what is the health going to look like after the restructure of that contract? It does open up $17 million. I mean, if these guys can stay healthy, it'll be great. If not, then it's a great team on paper, but what's it look like when it's out there? But I think it's awesome. I mean, look, you have two, borderline generational defensive end talents. I mean, two of the better ones in the league. So why not? Everybody should be stoked about it.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I don't know how many years Joey Bosa has left playing football, because he's not the same player he used to be. He had, I think it was 5 sacks a year ago, but 5 forced fumbles as well. And the Buffalo Bills have moved on. They got Bradley Chubb there now at defensive end and paid a lot of money for him. So I think Joey Bosa looks around, and what other teams could I go to? I could see the Lions being another team that'd be, a good fit for him to team up with Aiden Hutchinson. But how many opportunities do you have in your life to play with your younger brother and actually contend for a championship at the same time? And they need pass rush. This is a need for the 49ers. So, yeah, I would guess this is going to happen. Maybe tomorrow, maybe today, we'll see. But you got to believe that Nick Bosa is converting his salary for a reason. And then there's a guy that's still on the team for the 49ers. And I thought that he was going to be cut right away when the new league year started, and that's Brandon Ayuk. And the reports were that he was going to be cut the first day of the new league year. That's what Nick Wagner and a lot of people anticipated. But now it seems to be where the 49ers are in no rush to release Brandon Ayuk. And I think that's really not because of spite, but because they know one team in particular wants him badly. There's a lot of reports out there that once Brandon Ayuk is released, the Commander's going to jump all over him, and that makes a ton of sense with him playing with Jaden Daniels back in the day, and also Adam Peters, I should say in college at ASU, and Adam Peters, formerly with the 49ers front office, the assistant GM to John Lynch, knowing Brandon Ayuk very well. They're in no rush to release him because no money kicks in. All of his guaranteed money is off the books, and they can hang on to him until the season starts when he's due $28 million. Now, they're not going to keep him then, but also if he's released, it will be a post-June 1st designation because then they can spread out the cap and everything. But if they trade him before that, they get hit with a little bit of cap, I believe. So the 49ers know the Commanders want him, and I think that they're just holding out hope that they'll budge on this, and they'll hang on to him, and they'll wait until Adam Peters is like, you know what? we'll give you a 7th-round pick for him, and boom, you at least get something in return for the wide receiver you thought was going to be, the guy that you gave $30 million to a year was going to be your franchise wide receiver for the future.
Yeah, and then was, discontent with everything going on the team. I mean, we've been talking about the Brandon Ayuk saga now for about 2.5 seasons, but yeah, I mean, it's interesting. It is the Commanders. It seems like it's the Commanders or no one else for Brandon Ayuk. That's the market. You mentioned the ASU connection with him and the quarterback Daniels. I'm actually very curious to see if they're able to pull off some type of draft day or right close to draft day type deal with the Commanders. That might give a little more incentive for the Commanders and for the Niners to get that deal done. For instance, if the Niners can somehow get a 6th or maybe a 5th might even be asking too much for Brandon Ayuk because the value's so depressed, not because he's not a good player, but just because it's the NFL's worst kept secret that he wants out of there.
Right.
So, maybe if you're able to get like a 6th-round pick and make that deal right before or during the draft, then you can do that. Otherwise, he'll eventually, I think, be a Commander because they won't move off of that and they want wide receivers for that offense. So it's just a question of when that deal happens. I'm leaning in the direction it happens right around draft day.
If I'm the Commanders, though, I know the Niners can't keep him. So why would I give up anything? I would call the Niners bluff and be like, fine.
Make them release him?
And there's nobody, we're the only team willing to do this. Let's be honest. He is a head case. And a lot of stuff going on with him right now where people are just rushing into him playing again. I saw TJ Hushmanzada go on Emmanuel Acho's podcast, Speakeasy. And he, I guess, works with Brandon Ayuk in the offseason. But this is the first time he's always been supportive of him. And this is the first time I've seen him be like, yeah, I would be weary right now because what he did last year was batshit crazy. It was. To avoid his contracts and to not fight that and to not show up to rehab with the 49ers. He just didn't want to be there, which makes you wonder why they signed the contract and why he signed the contract. But I don't think anybody else is willing to take that much of a risk on him, considering what he's done and the fact he hasn't played in 2 years. So if I'm the Commanders, I'm like, go ahead. You can wait all you want, but there will be a day where you release him and we'll be all over him, but we're not going to trade for him. No, we know that he's yesterday's news for you guys.
And what's the history, too, of guys coming off, at that position, coming off ACL and MCL injury, too? What does that look? So that also factors into it. I'm just saying if he does get traded, I think it'll be around the draft day. Otherwise, it will be a release scenario.
Yeah, I'm with you, too. I just don't see where the Commanders have to budge here, but maybe they do. We saw that a year ago where they traded for Debo when most of the league was not going to do that. Yeah. As far as the QB moves, we didn't talk a lot about this, Alon. Daniel Jones signs a 2-year, $88 million contract with $60 guaranteed and $100 million in incentives. A lot for a guy that's coming off an Achilles tear. And I know the Colts are desperate at quarterback because they traded away 2 first-round picks for Sauce Gardner, which still I'm baffled by. But, yeah, somehow, some way, Daniel Jones keeps getting these lucrative contracts, whether it was with the Giants that I think was for $44 million and now with the Colts. And by the way, he may not be healthy by week 1, so they need another quarterback.
Yeah, I think that is, and I know it's free agency, so all these deals have potential risk, but this has to be the maybe riskiest one that has happened in the NFL this year. I mean, all that guaranteed money for a guy who, we used to make fun of Danny Dimes, right?
Still doing away
when he was with the New York Giants. And yeah, success with Indianapolis, but he can't stay healthy either. And they're just desperate for any kind of stability at the quarterback position. They found out AR-15 cannot play, right? I mean, they know that, and you can't call Phillip Rivers again. So I don't know if Daniel Jones stays healthy for them, then that's great. But I don't understand the deal. I don't know if they had to sign him for that much either.
Well, I mean, his agent was asking. I mean, his agent works wonders, but I don't know what their alternatives were. They were kind of desperate to get him back at quarterback because they're definitely moving on from Anthony Richardson. There's rumors that he could be traded to the Packers or the Rams, which would be good backup situations for both of those teams. But yeah,
could they not have gotten Kirk Cousins? That's what I see. I don't understand. I think there's other plug and play players that, yeah, maybe they don't give you the solidity of maybe this is a 2-year deal, but is Daniel Jones there for the long term? I still don't think so. That's why they gave him this short deal with all the guaranteed money loaded up front.
But only because of the injury, they do have expectations that he's their guy going forward. Where Kirk Cousins is
it's a stopgap.
It's a stopgap quarterback where they don't have, and they can't get a new one in quite some time without a first-round pick for the next 2 years. So, yeah, they're kind of screwed. So they didn't have any other options with Daniel Jones. So this could blow up in their face. And Chris Ballard, I think, is already on thin ice there, along with Shane Steichen. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, I think this contract will make or break them. Along with the Minnesota Vikings, and not really so much for Kevin O'Connell, but just their hopes this season. They did sign Kyler Murray. He is going to be their quarterback. Starting quarterback, I would assume so. And I don't know what this does for the confidence of J.J. McCarthy. There's already rumors that maybe they'll trade him now. I thought J.J. played well the last 5 games of the regular season. I know at times he looked really brutal, but I don't think this is the type of quarterback to help out J.J. McCarthy. I think Kyler is intriguing, and he's a cheap option where you only sign him for like $1.5 million, the vet minimum. But he's not the type of guy that's going to help out a young quarterback. I don't think so, at least. And I don't know how much he really helps the Minnesota Vikings as far as an offense. He's a better option than JJ, but how does he fit in this Kevin O'Connell offense? So, yeah, I thought that maybe they should have gone the Derek Carr route, but then again, that's just me. I think there's value in having Derek Carr on a football team where Kyler Murray, I think, needed to be humbled for a season. And I thought that the best option was backing up Matthew Stafford, but not the case. He'll most likely be the starting quarterback for the Vikings.
And not just humbled, like you say, Derek, but also that would have given Kyler Murray an opportunity to be around a great coaching staff down there in LA and to really do like what guys like Sam Darnold or Mac Jones have been able to do in San Francisco, being the backup there in Kyle Shanahan's system. I mean, it gives you an opportunity to Kyler's still so young. It gives you an opportunity to kind of revitalize your career and your play style and all that kind of stuff. And also a guy like Kyler Murray, who's really had to give it all out on the field for Arizona, gives him a chance to get fully healthy too. And not, so that would have helped. I see Skills Report here says, last I heard, Murray and McCarthy would have to compete in camp. I think ESPN said that. Yeah, that's the narrative, is that there will be a competition, but we all know who's going to win that competition. I mean, unless Kyler Murray forgot how to throw a football. So Kyler Murray's going to win that. I don't think it's a great move for them in terms of developing JJ, who they drafted with a first-round pick out of Michigan. I saw JJ play live in the Rose Bowl. What was that now? 4 years ago, 3.5 years ago. And
against Alabama, yeah.
Yeah, and he made a few impressive throws. I mean, the one was probably where he threw across his body kind of like a shortstop, and that broke Alabama and ended up getting Michigan into overtime. We know the rest is history. But I don't know. I get it. Kyler Murray does make them better at that position. There's no doubt about that. But what does this say about the faith in JJ going forward? And if you're Minnesota, you're kind of getting close to swallowing that Trey Lance pill where you drafted a guy and all of a sudden you're like, maybe there's better options out there. We're going to go in a different direction, even though we spent draft capital on a quarterback this high, the same way that the Niners did with Trey Lance. So you hope that situation doesn't happen, because then it just kind of becomes a wasted pick and you don't get much back for it. But I'm still honestly, I'm still confused as to why they drafted JJ McCarthy in the first place. I think he's an interesting player, but he just didn't have enough pass volume at Michigan to make him attractive enough to draft. I mean, that was a running smash mouth team, and he only passed when he was asked to by Harbaugh.
I hear you on that, but I think they also saw kind of like a Brock Purdy thing with him, and they were desperate at quarterback, and they weren't anticipating that Sam Darnold was going to be Sam Darnold. So we'll see what happens with that. I got to believe that JJ still remains on the team, because I just want to move off of him that quickly, but we'll see. I got to believe that Kyler Murray, even though there's going to be a QB competition in training camp, he's going to be the starting quarterback there. We'll talk about the other QB news and other trade possibilities that are going on in free agency. But the story that took over all the free agency and mostly this podcast was Maxx Crosby initially being traded to the Baltimore Ravens and then not being traded to the Baltimore Ravens. Now he's all in for this season with the Las Vegas Raiders. So let's talk about it with a guy that's been on the podcast before, the PD and host of Raider Nation Radio. You catch him 2 to 5 for Unnecessary Roughness. He also hosts the Locked On Raiders podcast, and you could catch him 7 to 10 on ESPN Radio. It is our boy, your boy, Q Myers, joining us right now on Just Your Opinion. What's up, Q?
Man, what's happening? How you guys doing today? Appreciate you having me on.
Oh, doing well, man. So how was this week of just content for you? It must have been like a whirlwind going from Maxx Crosby being traded to then he's back.
Right, exactly. No, it was a busy week, man. It really was, and really like a roller coaster for Raider Nation in general, right? I mean, you go from your best player that you've had on the team for the last handful of years to him not being on the team, and then you kind of come into the understanding that, wow, that's really good return that John Spite got for Maxx Crosby. So then you finally get to that point where you're kind of cool with it because you understand what this is and that this team has a lot of building that they still have to do. It's not like they're one player away from going to the Super Bowl or making a deep playoff run or even getting to the playoffs. So then you get to that, and then all of a sudden the trade is not going to happen. And so then it's like, wait, what's going on? And then you wonder, well, is Maxx going to stick around? Are they still trying to trade him? And honestly, even at this moment, we don't know that. We think we know what he's going to do. We think that he's all in for this year. He put it out there like he's all in for this year, and it sounds like the Raiders are good with him, but are they? I mean, so it's like it's still kind of one of those wait and see type situations. I honestly don't know if we're going to know the answer to that until he suits up for the Raiders week 1.
So let's go back to before the trade. I saw you during Super Bowl Media Week, and I think it was the same day that Jay Glazer went on Yahoo Sports and was like, "Oh, he's done. He's leaving." And I was like, "You think that's the case?" And you were like, "I think it's going to happen, but I don't think he wanted it out there."
Right.
So before the trade and everything, and Maxx Crosby doing all the interviews, and even before that, the knee issue, do you think that Maxx Crosby really, like, how badly did he want to leave the Raiders initially? Like, I know that he, in the video he posted after he got traded to Baltimore, he was talking about how he's a Raider for life, and you could tell that this really bothered him, and he didn't want to put it out there that he demanded a trade. But things change now. But initially, how bad do you think he wanted to leave the organization?
I think he wanted to leave because he didn't see the end of the road. He didn't see, the payoff at the end. He didn't see this team being a successful team. He was obviously upset by getting shut down the last 2 games of the season. Clearly, he needed to be shut down the last 2 games of the season with the knee situation and knowing he had been banged up. But look, this guy's a warrior, man. He doesn't want to come off the field ever. So that's kind of just what it is. I don't think that he honestly wanted to leave. I don't think he ever wants to leave the Raiders, but I do know he wants to win. And I know he's very loyal and maybe loyal to too much, right, to a fault. He's very tight with Mark Davis, and so I know that relationship means something to him. And I know he wants to win as a Raider, but I don't think he saw that path. So behind the scenes, and I got to give him credit for this, he didn't come out and demand a trade publicly. He didn't wipe his social media of all things Raiders, stop following the Raiders, whatever athletes do these days. He didn't do any of that stuff. He just kind of remained silent. He, went about his rehab, and that was really all. And then it ended up netting them 2 first-round picks in return, which I thought was really good. Obviously, that's not the case anymore. But I really honestly believe that he wants to be a Raider. I just don't think that he saw, and I don't know if he sees yet, where they're going to turn this thing around and win. Now, they went out and made a lot of really good moves in free agency so far, so maybe that's encouraging to him. But at the end of the day, I mean, he's a legacy guy. He's all about that. I mean, he's got Kobe, Mike, and Muhammad Ali tatted on him. Like, I mean, that's what he's all about. And so he wants to get it done. He wants to win. He wants to be at the ultimate, peak and hoist that Lombardi trophy. I just don't know if he sees it with the Raiders.
Gotcha, Q. We just look at the free agent signing. So obviously the huge one, Tyler Linderbaum, massive contract there, making him the richest paid ever interior offensive lineman. Kwity Paye, Quay Walker, Nakobe Dean, all these guys. Do you think the Raiders would have gone out and spent north of $250 million in this free agency had they known that this Maxx Crosby trade would have ended up not going through?
Right. I think they would have spent a lot of money. I don't know if they would have gone out and signed Kwity Paye, but I think that because they had to spend. I mean, they had a lot of money going into it before the Maxx trade. They had $89 million. They didn't spend any money last year. I mean, they were very, very frugal with their money last year. And so they had to spend a lot of money. So everyone knew that Tyler Linderbaum was going to be the number 1 target, and they landed him. And then they had to get linebackers. They're switching to this 3-4 defense, is base 3-4. So they needed some linebackers. All of their linebackers were free agents from a year ago, from Jamal Adams to Devin White and Landon Roberts. They all were free agents. So you knew that they had to go out there and address that situation. So, yeah, I think they would have definitely spent money. I don't know if they would have gone and signed Kwity Paye, but I give them credit for, even after Maxx, that trade did not go through, they still signed him and still said that he's a part of this team, and they've got plans for him. So we'll see how they put it all together. But, yeah, they were definitely going to spend some money.
You've been covering the Raiders for a long time, and, I mean, me and Alon have been fans for quite some time. We've seen some crazy things throughout the years. When you saw that the Baltimore Ravens backed out of the deal, did you, what went through your mind? Did you think, wow, this is typical Raiders, or more like, wow, I can't believe the Baltimore Ravens are kind of being shady in this whole thing?
I thought it was a Bush League move, to be honest with you, by the Baltimore Ravens. I really did. And I've had a lot of people push back on me on that. That's fine. I don't have a problem with that. I know the Raiders, in 2014, they failed the physical of Roger Saffold, and and he was going to sign a big free agent deal, and they didn't. And then he goes back to the Rams, and he plays every game. So I get it that the Raiders have been there, done that, but Baltimore's done this multiple times. I don't think that when you make and agree to a trade on Friday, and it's as massive as Maxx Crosby, that Maxx Crosby was the biggest free agent that wasn't a free agent. You know what I mean? That was the biggest get in free agency. And then the very next morning, it wasn't even 8 hours later, they're already coming to an agreement with Trey Hendrickson. I was like, come on. I mean, what are we doing, right? So it just never passed the smell test. I think that they had buyer's remorse when they realized how many players that they lost in free agency. I mean, because it was like 7 or 8 guys had come to agreements with other teams, including Tyler Linderbaum with the Raiders. And then they look up and they're like, all right, well, we don't have any of those guys. We don't have 2 first-round picks. And now we have Maxx Crosby, and that's it. And so I think that they just realized that there was a way out. Trey Hendrickson's market wasn't as big as he thought it was going to be. And so they said, all right, we can sign him and not pass Max's physical, and then we get our first-round picks back. That's personally how I feel like it all shook out. But I know, like I said, there's been a lot of pushback on that.
No, Q, I'm with you there. And sorry, Alon, just doing radio in the Bay Area here, people thought that I was just kind of being like a Raider lover, just being like, oh, Derek, you don't understand. This is just like Carlos Correa, where if you don't like the medical, you could back out. Not really. Right. Not when you screw over another team that is anticipating 2 first-round picks. And it was well documented that Maxx Crosby had a meniscus repair.
Right. Exactly.
And we can, if the Baltimore Ravens didn't like the medical, that's fine. But then probably you shouldn't have been on the phone and agreed to a trade for 2 first-round picks. And plus, these guys talk since the combine about this stuff. Right. So this wasn't any surprise. It just seemed to me like I'm with you, and most of the league agrees as well, where Eric DeCosta saw Maxx Crosby in his building, didn't like the longevity of the player, and knew he could fall back on Trey Hendrickson.
Yeah, exactly. It didn't pass the smell test for me. So I never liked it. Like I said, I mean, you can feel however you want to feel about it. You could think that I'm, crazy. I'm out of my mind. That's okay. I understand the legal tampering period as well. It's one of the reasons why I don't like the legal tampering period, is because moves like that can happen. But they didn't just affect the Ravens. They didn't just affect Maxx Crosby and the Raiders. I mean, look, the Colts thought they were getting Trey Hendrickson. And then they didn't, right? The Cowboys wanted to get Maxx Crosby. Then they pulled out. The Bears wanted to get Maxx Crosby, and then they pulled out. So it was a trickle-down effect across the league, and I don't think that that's fair to anybody, right? And then, I mean, the good thing is that Maxx has a good relationship with Mark Davis and the Raiders, so he's able to go back, and the next morning he was in the building at 6 a.m. rehabbing. But, I mean, what if he didn't have a good relationship with the Raiders? Then what? Now all of a sudden you don't have – now you look like he's damaged goods. Looks like the Raiders are trying to get over on the Ravens. It looks like Maxx Crosby was trying to get over on everybody. It just, like I said, it left a bad taste in my mouth. And when things like that don't pass the eye test and the smell test, usually there's something there.
Yeah, where there's smoke, there's fire. Completely agree, Q. And thanks again for being here today. But about back to the Raiders kind of free agency. So a lot has been made about all the money they spent on defense. I mean, really on paper, they've completely upgraded that side of the ball. You get 2 Georgia Bulldogs at linebacker. I love that as an SEC guy. But regarding the quarterback position, so assuming like everybody is that they're going to draft Fernando Mendoza, which they should,
right?
But they're probably going to need to bring in a veteran in free agency somehow. I'm sure you're aware of the Derek Carr comments saying I'd love to come in and mentor and stuff like that. Do you think that was more of him just, nice platitudes and talking about coming in maybe in some type of coaching or consultant role? Or do you think he would actually come and be kind of that bridge veteran the way that we're talking about Kirk Cousins might be? And how realistic is that for the Raiders? And is Raider Nation even ready for that?
It shouldn't be realistic at all.
Yeah.
I mean, just straight up, it shouldn't even be something that's thought about. Now, I don't know if it's being thought about or not. It shouldn't be. One, he's a guy that's going to have to be traded for if anyone wants him to play for him this year. He's under contract with the Saints. So now you're giving up a draft pick for a bridge quarterback? Like, first of all, that doesn't make sense. Second of all, it's Derek Carr. Like, you don't bring Derek Carr back to your organization where he's been for so long as a former second-round pick and basically leads your franchise and all the passing records to be a bridge, right? And then he's also Derek Carr, where there's a lot of you either love him or you don't. He's a big polarizing figure. Can you imagine him starting out the season as the starting quarterback, and then all of a sudden, all right, it's Fernando time. And then the minute that Fernando throws a pick or whatever the situation is, oh, Derek should be in there. Like, there's no reason to have that kind of chaos in your organization. And I've been told, I haven't talked to Derek. I don't know. So this is just take it for what it's worth. I've been told that he wants to be on the coaching staff. I've been told that he would love to be a quarterback coach. I don't think that that's realistic. But again, that's just me. And maybe I've been told wrong information. So don't take that as facts. I'm just telling you what's been said to me. So I just don't think that that's a good idea. I think Derek's a great guy. I really do. And I think he was a really good quarterback for what the Raiders needed. And it ended a way that was not very good for him. It wasn't very good for the organization. I mean, the way that they, Josh McDaniels and company shut him down, and then he just never, you just never saw him again, was not the way you want to end a relationship like that. But the relationship is over, right? And so at some point he'll come back, he'll retire as a Raider, he'll light the Al Davis Memorial torch there at Allegiant Stadium and call it a day. That's what it should be. There should be no discussion of Derek Carr coming back to be a quarterback for the Raiders. There should be no discussion of him being a quarterback coach. That's just that you just don't need that. It's a distraction that's unnecessary, and it's not even really his fault.
Yeah, sorry, Derek. I was going to say there's 51% of the fan base that would be up in arms about it, and 49% who would be super happy about it. So no, I appreciate you clearing that up. And I was talking to my dad about that, as well as some folks over at K-Loss Channel 8 here, and we were kicking that back and forth and just saying, this doesn't sound realistic.
No. And like I said, it shouldn't be. There's no reason for it. You have a fresh coaching staff in. You have, a lot of new players. You have John Spytek as the GM, who's really in charge now. Tom Brady's part of the football operations as well, as a minority owner. Look, just go in the direction that you're going. Stop looking in the rearview mirror. Stop, looking for a blast from the past. Like, don't just move this organization forward.
No, I agree, Q. And also, Derek Carr likes his money, so it wouldn't be cheap to get him over as a quarterback on the roster either. But Diana Rossini threw this out there. What do you think about Kirk Cousins? And I don't know if he would love to be a backup quarterback. I think that the mentality would have to be that Fernando Mendoza starts day one. What do you think about the Kirk Cousins rumors?
I think there's something to that. Kirk Cousins is a guy that has familiarity with Clint Kubiak. I think that he actually played his best ball in Minnesota with Clint Kubiak. So I can see that. I think the big question for me is, who does Kirk Cousins think he is at this stage of the game? Does he think that he's a starting quarterback for the long term, or does he understand that he's a bridge? And if there's a conversation, he's like, yeah, I don't mind being the bridge quarterback if it lasts 6 games or if it lasts 16 games. Like, if he understands that, then cool. I would have no problem with that. But if he thinks that, I'm going to be the quarterback and I'm going to keep the young guy on the bench for a year, 2 years, I don't think that that's what you want either, right? I mean, again, if he's going to be a bridge and you want him to be, someone who Fernando Mendoza can learn from as well, you have to have that established from the jump. What Atlanta did wrong with Kirk Cousins is that they went and signed him as a free agent, and then they went and drafted his replacement and didn't tell him. You know what I mean? So he was caught off guard, and so that's where the friction started. What needs to happen, like I said, I think Kirk Cousins is the best guy out there to be a bridge quarterback, but he has to understand that that's who he is. And there could be a situation where this Kirk might last 4 games. This might last 6 games. This might last a whole season. We don't know. But when we feel like the young guy's ready to go, he's going to be ready to go. And you have to understand that. Like, if he has that understanding, then I'm cool with that.
And we all anticipate that Fernando Mendoza will be the first overall pick, but we thought a couple of weeks ago, or just a week ago, that the Raiders were going to have 2 first-round picks. And they made a lot of additions in free agency. But in your opinion, Q, how do they build this team up even more, not having those 2 first-round picks anymore?
Well, I mean, you just got to do what you got to do, right? I mean, you got 10 picks in the draft right now. So That's the good thing. You know, there's plenty of time to be able to add really good talent. This draft has not been one that people are saying is a draft full of stars, but they're saying it's a draft full of starters, which what do the Raiders need? They need starters. They need talent. They need guys that can, you know, come in and like the secondary. They need to add probably a couple corners, even though they have, and they re-signed Eric Stokes and they traded for Taron Johnson and, you know, Darian Porter was third-round pick from last year. Yeah, okay, those might be your starters. Who's behind them? Right? Do you have any depth? They need a nose tackle. They're going to a 3-4 defense. So I think that Lee Hunter out of Texas Tech, if he's available in the second round, I'd be interested in him. But when you have as many holes as the Raiders do, and they still do have plenty of holes, I think you could just allow the board to fall to you. And you could just literally pick the best player available. Like everyone always says, just best player available.
Yep.
Every position is the position of need for the most part. So why not just go and get the best player available, plug him in, add a lot of talent to your team, and you're good. You already went and got the best center that was available in Tyler Linderbaum. Now you've solved that situation. You solved a couple problems. You already know who your starting center is going to be, and you know that you don't have to have an argument all year long about JPJ. Where is he going to play? Is he a center? Is he a guard? Why are you doing him wrong? He should be the center. He's not going to be the center. He's not. So that conversation's over. Right now, you just decide what guard spot is going to be. Colton Miller, you know where he's going to be back healthy at the left tackle spot. So now your offensive line is starting to come together, and you have to have that offensive line to come together. That's going to be the most important thing for this Raiders team this year. You'll know how this season's going to go based off the way that their line comes together. Once they establish who their starting five is going to be, they have to do rep after rep after rep after rep to get this, wide zone, this zone blocking scheme down. It's never worked for the Raiders when they try to implement that zone blocking scheme. It just hasn't. They've always been, and I don't know why. I don't know if it's the coach or whatever, or the personnel. I don't know what it is, but they have to go in there and they have to get guys that fit with what they're trying to do, and they've got to establish who they're going to be and get rep after rep after rep so they can have it, and they can have it mastered down. I love the fact that Rick Dennison is along for the ride. He's going to be the offensive line coach. He's an old school dude. He's not a guy that a lot of players end up liking, but that's fine. You don't have to like him. You just have to respect him and go out there and work your tail off and then be the best offensive line you could be.
Now, I was going to ask you, so you just hit on it, Q, about the offensive line. It looks like it's starting to solidify. Really, you just have to find who the hell is going to be finally a right tackle for this organization, which has been a tough position to nail down for them, which shouldn't have been this case because you've had the left tackle position now sorted out since Colton Miller was drafted in Oakland, and everybody made fun of that pick, and that's turned out to be pretty darn good. One of the better John Gruden picks. But how do you envision this team, I guess, operating on offense? I have a good idea of what it's going to look like on defense, but is this going to be Genty 25, 30 carries a game kind of deal? Is it going to be more touches for him overall? Because he can catch the ball. We saw that at Boise State. We've seen it here at Allegiant when he used to come here and play against UNLV. Is this everything runs through Brock Bowers? I mean, what do you think kind of the perfect scenario for this team offensively is? Because this past year, we thought this was going to be an offense with Chip Kelly before we saw how it actually worked. That was going to be competitive offensively, and defense was going to be the problem.
Yeah, no, it's I think the offense is going to be like night and day compared to what we saw last year. I think Genty's going to get a lot more touches. He could do that, as you mentioned. He just never consistently got a bunch of touches last year. It was some games he would get better touches, other games it'd be like he wasn't even there. The offensive line was terrible. So again, going back to the O-line having to do be in the proper position and be able to be that dominating front five. They got to be able to solidify that. And then I think that Genty will be the leader in the clubhouse. Obviously, Brock Bowers is the number one target. You got guys like Trey Tucker. I mean, just go back and look at what Seattle was able to do offensively. They had their best wide receiver in Jackson Smith and Jigba. I mean, they lined that guy up everywhere. They lined him up in the backfield. Clint Kubiak is really good at setting up matchups and really kind of scheming guys open. And I'm excited just to see what that looks like, only because I don't think that the Raiders have had an offensive play caller like that before that's been so creative where he can really kind of manipulate what the defense is doing, strategically and scheme them open. So now he's the CEO of the team. Now he's the head coach, not the offense coordinator. So that's obviously going to be, it's a work in progress and he's going to have to get used to it. But, I think this offense is going to look good. I think you're going to see what you saw in Seattle with obviously their own wrinkles to it. And I think Ashton Genty is going to have a lot to do with it. And that's why another reason going and getting Tyler Linderbaum was such a big deal.
So to follow up on that, Q, I totally agree with what you're saying. They haven't had that guy as a coach who can scheme people open. It's very much been system dependent. This is what we're running. This is what you do. So this is a little different. But regarding that offensive line, specifically the left guard position where Parham was, do you think, and the right tackle, do you think the left guard and the tackle are on the team right now? And follow up on that as well, do you think they need to bring another receiver in still? Because we were talking about Jawan Jennings a lot this past week.
Yeah, I think another wide receiver would make sense. I mean, look, I think Daniel Jeremiah said it perfectly the other day when he had his pre-combine conference call, whatever. Like, it was really good. And he said, teams mess up young quarterbacks because they don't have the 3 Ps. They don't have the play caller. They don't have the protection. They don't have the playmakers. Well, the Raiders have the play caller and Clint Kubiak. They're trying to put the protection up front, right? They're trying to get that there. That's why Tyler Linderbaum was so important. That was a good step. And they're trying to put more playmakers around them. They've got a few playmakers, but you can never have too many. We don't know who Jack Besh is going to be. We don't know who Dante Thornton's going to be because they didn't get too much burn last year. You know who Brock Bowers is. You know who Ashton Genty is. We all think we know who Michael Mayer is, but he's going in year 4, and we still haven't seen him, right? We still haven't seen him consistently, so we don't know. Trey Tucker had a breakout season last year, but, he did a lot of that early in the season, not much late, so is he a guy that they could build off of? So you need to continue to put playmakers around him, but those are the boxes I would check: play caller, protection, and playmakers. They've got at least one for sure, and they're working on the other 2.
Gotcha.
Just going back to the Maxx Crosby situation, it's clear now with Baltimore backing out of the deal and the medical stuff that nobody's offering 2 first-round picks. And John Spytek stood his ground the entire time saying, we're only going to trade for him if we get the Micah Parsons package. And they settled for less, but 2 first-round picks are significant. Have the Baltimore Ravens never offered 2 first-round picks? And we know that Maxx Crosby wanted to go, and there was reports that most likely they are going to trade him, the Raiders. Do you think that he would have been dealt if it would have been something less than 2 first-round picks? Say the Chicago Bears, the Dallas Cowboys were offering a first and a second and a player. Do you think Maxx Crosby would have been dealt?
Well, the Bears were offering 2 first-round picks. Their first-round pick just wasn't number 14 overall. Right. So that's the only reason that Baltimore ended up winning those sweepstakes to begin with. Again, that's part of the reason why this situation is terrible, because, look, he could have gone to Chicago. He could have been there, and, I think that was a destination he would have had no problem going to. He could end up in Dallas. I think that they're going to hold out as much as possible. Apparently, the Cowboys didn't want to give up 2 1s. Okay, fine. So you're not getting Maxx Crosby. I mean, look, you can't just give Maxx Crosby away, right? You got to. If you're going to move on from him, you got to get something major for him. So 2 1s would have done that. Now, Chicago, like I said, I feel like that they were the ones that really would have done it. And the Ravens messed that up, and so now. There's, like you said, nobody's going to give up 2 1s for Maxx. So I don't know if there's a scenario where the trade deadline comes up and someone offers a 1 and a player, and maybe the Raiders aren't doing very good, and they said, all right, let's move. I don't know what's going to happen. Like, I feel like that's a very fluid type situation. But John Spytek, I have to give him credit for sticking to his guns. We're not just going to give our best player away. You're going to have to really, wow us by a hell of an offer. And the 2 1s with the number 14 overall pick being this year's one was something that could wow him.
All right, last one for you, Q. Me and Alon talked about it, how we all were anticipating Maxx Crosby getting traded, and we said that this has to be the last trade you make with this type of player, where he is a game changer, a franchise player, and you're just trading him away. They've done it so many times with Khalil Mack and Amari Cooper, Devontae Adams, and then it happens, then he comes back. And I feel like in the last 20 years, there's only been a few guys that were proud to be Raiders despite of all the losing, and that was Derek Carr and Maxx Crosby. And he's a very spiritual guy, so I'm sure he sees this as a sign that he should stay with this organization for at least right now. But what does it mean to this franchise that they were so close to trading this guy away, and they did, but now he comes back? Does this kind of rejuvenate the team again? Like, how do you view this with Maxx Crosby at least being bought in for this a little bit of time right now before maybe the trade deadline?
I mean, I think it rejuvenates the team, but I also think it fires up Maxx Crosby. There's one thing I know about Maxx. Like, I never claim to be one of the guys that runs in his circles, or I could communicate with them all the time. Obviously I see him in the locker room, talk to him, have a good relationship with them, but not like I hang out with them or anything. But I could tell you that he's a guy that doesn't really need motivation, but if you give him motivation, he's going to take it. Right. And so for Baltimore to say that he wasn't medically cleared or he wasn't good enough to trade for, they're concerned about his health. That's a huge chip on his shoulder. And if you want to be a betting man, I would go and place some money down right now on him being in the runnings for Defensive Player of the Year next year. I think you're going to see the best version of Maxx Crosby you've ever seen. And he's going to be one of those guys, just like MJ said in the Last Dance documentary. And that I found that, and that made me mad, or that irritated, or whatever he said.
I took that personal. I took that personal.
I took it personal. Thank you. That was what I was looking for.
Yeah.
I think Maxx is going to take everything personal. I think he's going to be hell on wheels this year. Like I'm so excited to see what he does. I know there was actually a betting site that had who's going to get more sacks, him or Trey Hendrickson. I was like, oh, that's easy. That's easy.
Oh,
I guarantee Maxx gets more sacks than Trey Hendrickson. Like I just see Maxx having just a hell of a year because he's that guy that he pushes himself and he wants to be the best. Look, this is not a guy who's a first round pick, right? Coming out of Eastern Michigan, he wasn't the guy that was expected to be in the same conversations as, TJ Watt and Myles Garrett and those kind of guys like that, Nick Bosa. He wasn't supposed to be in that conversation. He worked his way into that conversation. And so now you're going to give him this kind of fuel, man. Whoever lines up across him week 1, good luck. Right. I see a guy who's hell on wheels and he's bringing it this year. So that if for nothing else, and it might only last one season, I don't know. Like I said, I don't know how this situation is going to play out. I think you're going to see the best version of Maxx Crosby you've seen so far in his career.
I agree with you, Q, and it's going to be very fascinating because I think Maxx Crosby's bought in, but there's going to be teams that are interested, and we'll see how the Raiders perform. Where if it's kind of the same deal we've seen in recent years, and a team offers 2 first-round picks, I got to believe that John Spytek pulls the trigger on a trade once again. Q, thank you as always, man. You came on the podcast back in the day, and you're back on, so I appreciate you always making the time for us, man. Catch Q on Raider Nation Radio and Locked On Raiders. His podcast, Locked On Raiders. Q, thanks as always, man.
Hey, no problem, man. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate y'all.
I appreciate you, man. Q Myers, man. Always enjoy having him on. And yeah, dude, I agree with him where Maxx Crosby's going to be motivated this season. I think he's bought in right now. And we read the post the other night. It's just funny though, like with all that news coming out, I didn't have a chance to listen to like the other podcasts, I usually listen to and their perspective on it. And it's just funny to hear like when the trade initially went through and like my guy John Middlecoff saying like the Baltimore Ravens usually don't make moves like this. It's good to see them actually going for it where they're like, you know what, we're not worried about 2027 or 2028. We're worried about right now for 2026. And sure enough, they're not. They were concerned more about their future than winning a Super Bowl right now. And you could say like, well, they still believe in that with Trey Hendrickson, but it's different to get Maxx Crosby. It totally is. So I've heard differing things on the Chicago Bears front where they offered 2 first-round picks. That's the thing where not only did the Baltimore Ravens screw the Raiders, they screwed Maxx Crosby. They screwed other teams that were making offers where I think John Spytek wanted 2 first-round picks, but he probably would have caved before the new league year and said, if it's not going to be that, then we got to move on. The fact that it was 2 first-round picks and one of them were the 14th overall pick, and Chicago was a playoff team, so it went down the line. If it was 2 first-round picks for the Bears, they probably would have pulled the trigger, but it's not as good. It's still a first-round pick. So, yeah. And Tacky's in the chat right now saying, we're still talking about the Raiders screwing up the Maxx Crosby situation. Yeah, sure, Tacky. But no, we moved on. It's just it's still frustrating, but for the here and now, Maxx Crosby's focused and they're moving forward. But again, we'll see how the Raiders perform. I got to believe that if he's out there and he is a man possessed, teams will offer 2 first-round picks. But I do wonder now if he does see himself as a Raider for life, given what happened.
He will. He probably does right now, and he'll definitely feel that way if they're able to move in the right direction with some wins. I think that's ultimately what heals all the lingering wounds, is if they're able to get some wins and at least give an indication that they're going to be a successful franchise for the long term. But one thing that Q kind of hit on without explicitly going after it was the fact that this market was set at such a high price, and that indicates to me that it was not something that the Raiders were going out of their way to get done, but it was something that, hey, we're setting the price here, and if someone is able to blow us away to wow us with this kind of deal, then we'll take it. But otherwise, it's going to be very hard to actually make this agreeable. The Ravens were able to do that. I just don't see other teams lining up to do that at this point. And real quick,
yeah,
just bigger than the Maxx Crosby thing is this whole deal screwed the entire market up. Teams went out and spent a ton of money, allocated a ton of capital towards different players that are now on their rosters. And there's not very many teams that even have the flexibility to get things done with a player like Maxx Crosby now. So it's just the way it works. So, I mean, that we're the way, we're in this new league world now, this new league year, and the rosters are pretty much set when it comes to the big name players like that.
Yep. So for the here and now, Maxx Crosby's a Raider. And again, we'll see what happens at the trade deadline. But moving forward, the Baltimore Ravens have moved forward. The Raiders are moving forward. One trade that has been discussed along with Maxx Crosby as far as like a disgruntled player, A.J. Brown. And I kind of moved off of this. Last weekend, I thought this was done. If anything's going to happen, it's probably June 1st. But even then, I got to believe the Eagles are like, why would we trade away A.J. Brown at this point? We want our offense to thrive. We want it to be better than what it was a year ago with A.J. Brown. So getting rid of him, how does that make us better for this season? Diana Rossini on Friday was saying that things were heating up where the Rams potentially were getting in on A.J. Brown. And my first reaction to that was, well, that's the move of the year. If they get A.J. Brown, and I wouldn't think Davante Adams would stay on the team. I would think it would have to be – the Rams still have that 14th overall pick. And whether they value a backup quarterback for Matthew Stafford this season that eventually becomes their franchise quarterback, or making a big-time move to make them the team that, definitely can't be messed with in the NFC West, the kind of the same moves they made back in 2021, getting Stafford, getting Von Miller, getting Odell Beckham. This would be along those lines of getting A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown and Puka Nacua would be unbelievable. So that was talked about on Friday. And there was also there's something going on with Dallas Goedert's contract where he's technically not a true free agent. His void date was pushed back from Friday to Monday. So the Eagles need to sign him to a contract. Otherwise, he becomes a free agent. We'll see how that develops tomorrow. And it sounds like if Dallas Goedert signs a deal, then that most likely means that A.J. Brown will be moving on. And I got to know what their plan is, a wide receiver, because Devontae Smith is a great receiver, but how is the offense going to look where he's just the main guy going forward with Saquon, with potentially Dallas Goedert? But yeah, eventually, trade talks fell through on Friday. I think most likely the Eagles are going to hang on to him until June 1st. But then, if you're doing a deal post June 1st, then you're not getting any trade compensation for this year's draft. How you make your team better for the here and now? You probably have to include a wide receiver, but who's available at that point? It sounds like the Patriots really want A.J. Brown, and A.J. Brown wants to go to New England. So this might be a very annoying piece of news, much like Aaron Rodgers, much like Jalen Ramsey a year ago, where we don't get any clarity on the situation until June. But yeah, I think this is going to be something that lingers throughout the offseason.
Yeah, like you mentioned, Diana Rossini, she's over Athletic, New York Times, right? All the same company. But yeah, she reported that Rams and Patriots interested in A.J. Brown. No move imminent, though. So like you're saying, this is going to be one of those stories that's just going to linger throughout the offseason. The Eagles definitely get worse without A.J. Brown. I mean, think about how bad that offense would have been without him last year. And if things don't change offensively there, I don't know. You just can't you can't take another target away from Jalen Hurts here. And I know that maybe somewhere in his heart, he believes Devontae can be that guy, but it's not good for the Eagles. They're going to have to figure out a way to keep him. And if they don't keep him, they're not going to get anything back for him. I should say this. They're not going to get the same value back for him. That's for darn sure from either the Rams or the Patriots. So you also mentioned the Rams, what they're going to do in the draft. Do they go, the guy that would be there would be like a Ty Simpson if they wanted to draft a quarterback of the future or backup for Stafford. I don't know if they go in that direction. What I do believe firmly regarding the Rams is I think that they think they were maybe the better team in the NFC West this year. Whether that's true or not, we can say it's not true because Seattle ended up winning the Super Bowl and beating them.
Wasn't true. Seattle beat them twice.
I know, but I'm just saying, I think the Rams do believe that they were right there and that they could have easily been taken that spot from, not easily, but they could have taken that spot from Seattle and won the Super Bowl. If you're operating from that standpoint, I think the Rams are, then they will do everything in their power to go make their offense even more potent, because that seems to be the buy-in on that organization is we just got to score more because we only have so many shots left with Stafford.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think they're going all in this season. And yeah, Pro Football Talk, Mike Florio is reporting that the Rams did offer Davante Adams, and I believe the first round pick for A.J. Brown, and in the end, the Eagles said no at this time. So we'll see what happens. I feel like that's going to be, as I said, something that goes on in the offseason. So And we haven't heard anything from A.J. Brown, but when he puts on a New England Patriots jersey in an interview with Julian Edelman, I got to believe that wrangles people and doesn't make them happy. And it sounds like he wants to get out of there. I would try to make it work because I got, what can Sean Mannion do with this offense? But if A.J. Brown's out on Jalen Hurts, he's out on Jalen Hurts. They got to move forward. Just real quick, we were talking about the QBs before Q jumped on. What do you think about the Malik Willis signing along? Because we were kind of anticipating that, where he would sign with either the Cardinals or the Dolphins. And in the end, he got something along the lines of, I think it was a 2-year deal or a 3-year deal. I'll get the numbers here in a second here, but I think he's making $37 million a year, and that's just the quarterback market. When a guy shines a little bit, he'll make good money. But are you surprised that he got that money, or that he's now the quarterback for the Miami Dolphins from where he was when he initially got drafted by the Tennessee Titans and then went to Green Bay? What do you think about Malik Willis's growth throughout the NFL?
I mean, it's a hell of a path, right? Come from Liberty University, who had just made the jump into D1 football, played, obviously he was great at Liberty, and then goes to the NFL, is expected to be this very dynamic player, doesn't work in Tennessee, able to kind of rehab things a bit in terms of his play style and just what he can do on the field with Green Bay. I'm looking at the contract right now, per spot track, $67.5 million, 3 years, 45 of it fully guaranteed.
3 years, yeah.
I think it's a really good deal for the Dolphins, and I've always been very adamant about, if you want to make your team competitive immediately and you don't have a great team, the best thing to do is go get a quarterback who can move, and that's what Malik Willis can do. He's one of the most dynamic athletes at that quarterback position. I mean, I'm not saying he's Lamar Jackson, but he's a guy who can do Lamar Jackson-esque things, and he's got a cannon for an arm. I think it's a really good pickup.
I think so too. I think that I don't know what to make of the Dolphins. They still have Jalen Waddle and they still have Devon Achane. I like Bobby Slowick staying on and being promoted to being their defensive coordinator, or offensive coordinator, I should say. Again, I don't know what with dealing with a $99 million dead cap, I don't know how good they're going to be, but I think Malik Willis will give them a chance. And then, the AFC East at this point is the Bills and Patriots. Not expecting a whole lot from Geno Smith. There's rumors out there that they want to trade for Will Levis as another quarterback in that room where he could be the starter. He'll, maybe a QB competition there. But yeah, the AFC East runs through the Bills and Patriots at this time. So I think the Dolphins will be better than we anticipated when they move off of Tua. But like Malik Willis, given the keys now, being the starting quarterback, I got to see what he can bring for a full 17 games. And then, we mentioned Tua getting released. He did officially sign with the Atlanta Falcons. I got to believe he's going to be the starting quarterback, much like Kyler Murray, where, Michael Penix is injured. And even if he was healthy, he probably beats him out in a competition. Interesting, transition here going from Kirk Cousins to Tua. Both of them, Michael Penix and him, are left-handed quarterbacks, so similar skill set there. But do you think Tua has a better opportunity to kind of revamp his career more than Kyler Murray does with the Vikings a lot?
Ooh, I think the revamp is let's put it this way. There's a lot more room for growth with Tua, as I would say, because the floor is so much lower.
Yeah.
So I think Kyler is going to have the better season, but I think Tua does have the bigger opportunity to revamp his career. First, he's very comfortable in that building. That's where he won a national championship against Georgia. He was able to make that throw. But he's so not durable. And that's the problem. And those quarterbacks for the Falcons got sacked last year. He's going to get sacked too. So it's a question of, are they able to keep him upright? If you can keep him upright and give him space to operate, he can be very effective in the NFL. But it just hasn't happened on a consistent basis. Even when Miami was putting up massive offensive numbers, it was very much feast or famine. So I would say that Tua has the bigger opportunity to revamp his career, but just because it's the bigger opportunity doesn't make it the easier opportunity. I think it's going to be more difficult for him in Atlanta. I would say for the Falcons, though, even though you have this really weird quarterback room with two lefties, at least you don't have to do everything in reverse for the other guy. So everything's going to be the same now. But but I think Kyler still has the better shot of being a more successful quarterback this season. He's with a more stable organization. He's got more talent on the outside in Justin Jefferson. I just think it's a better situation overall. And I feel bad for Tua because of that. And, you know, it's just the way the cookie crumbles for him. I will say this about Tua before we move on, but I think Tua, you know, if he's able to find comfort in Atlanta and is able to do well, Michael Penix starts sitting in that J.J. McCarthy, Trey Lance situation that I mentioned earlier. What if Tua's good, right, and he somehow is durable and can play 14 or 15 games this year? What does that do to Michael Penix? And then that pick is wasted.
It also makes me believe, too, that the Raiders dodged a bullet with not drafting him, even though they weren't in the driver's seat, too, because, you know, he went before, what was he drafted, 8th overall or whatever it was to Atlanta, and that blindsided all of us in that draft. But I think the Raiders had their hearts set on drafting Michael Penix. And his time in the NFL has been underwhelming. I wasn't a fan of them benching Kirk Cousins for him because I felt like that was them just being like, well, if we make the playoffs, cool. If not, whatever. Like, that was the whole goal that season. So, and he's not that mobile. With how bad the offensive line was a year ago for the Raiders, I don't know how Michael Penix would have held up. Probably worse than Geno. So I do think that Tua has a chance to thrive with Atlanta. And I think that Kevin Stefanski being there, people kind of shit on the guy. I like him as a head coach, but he has a lot of work to do there. I still think there's a lot of talent on that team, but I think Tua could be successful, especially in a dome. Kyler, though, has a better team. No question about it. He's got Justin Jefferson and that defense, Brian Flores scheming up on the other side of the football. So, and Aaron Jones is coming back. They reworked his contract. So, yeah, I would say Kyler Murray has a better chance just because of the support around him. And then, yeah, as far as the other quarterback situations, it's a matter of time before Aaron Rodgers signs back. That's my opinion. And look, I know a year ago I went kind of crazy with that. I don't care. Whenever he signs, he signs. He may have already told Mike McCarthy I'm coming back, but he won't sign a contract until June again. So that doesn't need to be a whole thing this offseason. Other moves,
watch.
Yeah, Favre. Yeah, we'll have Scott Hansen on the front lawn again. As far as other moves that went down that we really didn't talk about, that I thought were underrated and kind of nice moves. I kind of like what the Bengals are doing, honestly. Even though Trey Hendrickson left, I kind of like them picking up Boye Mafe and Jonathan Allen. They usually don't go after anybody in free agency, but they knew that they had to address the defense. I mean, the defensive line, but let alone the entire defense when Jamar Chase is calling you out. So, yeah, I kind of like them just actually not being aggressive, but just doing something in free agency because usually they don't. I know they signed Trey Hendrickson years ago, but, you know, they're pretty cheap. And now losing Trey Hendrickson, you have to, you know, address needs on the defensive line. So I like that. I liked Javon Hargrave signing with the Packers. He's not the same guy that we saw with the Philadelphia Eagles back in the day, but you get him on that defensive line. They needed help there with a lot of guys leaving in free agency, signing or trading away Rashawn Gary and Quay Walker leaving, Nate Hobbs being released. There's some rumors out there that maybe Josh Sweat isn't happy with Arizona and wants to be reunited with Jonathan Gannon in Green Bay. But yeah, I like Javon Hargrave going to the Green Bay Packers. And then Jaquan Brisker, some safety moves going to the Steelers. Now you can move Jalen Ramsey to his natural position at corner. Kobe Bryant, the safety, going to the Chicago Bears, coming from the Seahawks. He was a big-time playmaker for their defense a year ago. And then Rachaad White, who's kind of forgotten as a running back in this league, the starting guy for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He goes to the Commanders now to work with who's my guy? Bill Crosby Merritt. Remember him?
No. Bill
Remember him at all?
Bill Crosby Merritt?
He was the talk of preseason.
The running back, right?
Bill Crosby Merritt.
His name's Jacory.
Yeah, but they call him Bill.
I didn't know that. I'm not up to speed on my Washington Commanders lore.
Yeah, John Gruden was a big fan of. Look at this man. Yeah, this guy. They call him Bill, man. He's not Little Bill though. I also loved that show back in the day.
Bill Crosby. John Gruden would make a Bill Cosby reference. That's great. Oh man. Okay, yeah. I mean, so he goes over there, and they had their running back room solidified for a while, and now they've blown it up over the past 2 years and trying to put it back.
Well,
together.
they had injuries with Austin Eckler. His career's over. Yeah, they traded away Brian Robinson Jr., and he's a free agent right now. There's rumors about him going to the Seahawks, maybe. But yeah, dude, that's it for free agency right now, where we're kind of a week removed, and there's still guys available. I'm still surprised Jawan Jennings hasn't signed yet. We're waiting on Joey Bosa. David Njoku is a solid tight end. I think he's waiting on the Dallas Goedert news. So, yeah, that's about it right now with free agency. Once those guys sign, probably won't have a lot of movement here. There's still Jonathan Grenard, who's a pass rusher with the Vikings that could be dealt. The backup quarterback situations will probably be, figured out this week, whether it's Anthony Richardson. Justin Fields might be a pretty good option as a backup quarterback for somebody. I can see the Rams or the Colts or the Packers going after him. And then Jimmy Garoppolo, where does he go? Probably back to the Rams. But if they want to find that next quarterback, that franchise quarterback, is it just where they draft Ty Simpson in the first round? So, yeah, things are kind of slowing down for agency-wise, but still some moves to be had.
Yeah, still some moves for sure. And I think you kind of buried the lead because there was that big quarterback signing in Cincinnati, and that's Josh Johnson.
Oh, yeah, man. What is this? This is, his 20th team? Whatever it is?
Yeah. So, because I was laughing about it, I was like, how many starts has he ever made in his career? It's 11. 11 starts in his career. He's been around pro football for about 15 years now.
Jesus. Only 11
He's going to
starts.
play. He's going to play.
Well, I hope not, because I'm tired of Joe Burrow getting hurt.
I am too, but the history indicates that Josh Johnson will probably at least take 1 or 2 snaps during the regular season.
Maybe. Is that their best option at backup quarterback at this point? Like they're not sending back Joe Flacco, huh?
I don't. They probably will bring Joe Flacco back, and Johnson would be the emergency third string quarterback. But Josh Johnson, life finds a way. He always finds a way.
Life finds a way. Yeah, maybe Joe Flacco goes to the Colts because he did play with them for a year and he knows the Shane Steichen offense. There's also, I don't know if he wants to be a backup quarterback. He probably does. That's the only option at this point. There's Russell Wilson, and whether that's with the Chiefs to fill in for Mahomes for a couple of weeks, that's about it, though. And I wouldn't want him with the Raiders. What's up?
That would be dangerous with the Chiefs.
Oh, yeah.
He could run that offense.
He could for a week or two, and then you move on to Mahomes, obviously. All right, that's it for free agency right now. Alon, so what should I know with the tourney this year? With the NCAA tournament, Selection Sunday will come out later on, the bracket, but what should I know as far as who's the best teams out there, who's some sleepers? I know that Duke's number 1 right now. We've got like a 17-1 record this year, followed by Arizona and then Michigan, but if I'm looking for some sleepers this year to win or go far in the tourney, who should I be looking at?
Sleepers. You know what? Texas is probably a good sleeper, and you're a
good,
Texas
good to
fan.
know.
Yeah, so Texas will be fun if they can, they might end up playing like a UCLA type team in the first round, but that would be interesting. I think UGA is also a fun watch. They're not historically a very good basketball school, but they could be fun. Not a sleeper because they've been so successful over the past 5 or 6 years, but Houston, they'll probably get a number 2 seed, and so they'll be a good team. But Duke is, they're the powerhouse in the country, although they did get into a bit of a scrap with Virginia in the ACC championship. They were able to pull it out, but Duke, they got both of Carlos Boozer's sons on the team, and the one son, Cameron Boozer, I believe, he plays forward just like his dad, and he's been really good for them. So they're the odds-on favorite, but it's going to be a good tournament, I think, Derek. I'll be rooting for Alabama, of course, who had a bit of a down year, but still probably going to secure a 4th seed after losing in the SEC championship to Ole Miss somehow. But no, it should be a fun tournament. And you know what also would be fun? Bet on McNeese State. They might get through the first round again because they got a lot of swagger. They got that guy who comes out of the locker room with them with the boom box. And they're
doing the Trent Williams thing?
Yeah, except this guy's like a nerdy, like 5'10" guy.
Oh yeah,
you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. And the cheerleaders are into him too.
Yeah, this guy, he's a big deal. He's a big deal. So I would McNeese State. That would be fun to watch as well. But I don't know. This is look, you could say this every year about the NCAA tournament, about it being top heavy, but it really is top heavy. I mean, your 4 number ones, Duke, Michigan, Florida, Arizona, they're all really damn good. And the 2 seed teams are all really good as well. So
Yeah.
I don't know. Duke is, I mean, it should be Duke's to lose, actually.
Well, we're losing some people in the chat here as Tacky says, March Madness, talk NFL offseason. We can never win with you people. Yeah, I said you people. You opining people. We see Mac Van in the chat here. What's going on, Mac Van? You just missed our guy, your boy Q Myers just joined us talking some Raiders football. So you should go back in the podcast and listen to that. Mac Van, though, says, every year I fill out my bracket with Arizona to win it all. Well, you're just like Tom Tolbert, and every year you get your bracket wrong, unfortunately.
Yeah, yeah, no. Hey, keep living that life though, Mac. I respect it. You gotta root for your team, and when your team always gives you fool's gold that they could win it all, whether it's an Adam Morrison type of Arizona team or a different Arizona team, you pencil them in, buddy.
And we also tonight have the WBC. It is the quarterfinal, right, Alon? Am I getting it right?
Semifinals.
Semifinal, my bad. Semifinal. So that'd be huge. And then we'll see what happens so then the final game would be on what, Monday or Tuesday?
I think it's Tuesday, I believe.
Yeah, Monday. The whole ESPN's got their whole thing screwed up right now. But last Friday, the Team USA advanced over Team Canada. Thanks to box score is totally wrong here. What the hell's going on here? Anyway, Logan Webb pitched for them. I don't know how long he lasted. I wish I could pull those stats up right now. Maybe I need to switch over to CBS. But yeah, the Team USA taking on the Dominican Republic tonight with Paul Skeens on the mound.
Yeah.
So, how you been liking these WBC games, Alon?
It's been a fun WBC. I think the Dominican Republic has been a super exciting watch. I mean, it's been exciting. It kind of sucks that Japan got bounced, but is what it is. That was kind of
surprising last night, huh?
Yeah, I wanted revenge against Japan in the finals. Yeah. I think that's what everybody was hoping for, but it's not going to happen. As far as Logan Webb, he went 4 2/3 against Canada, but yeah, they were able to pull that out. USA was. You mentioned at the top of the podcast that it's been a rough sports year so far for Canada going against the United States, but no, it should be fun. I mean, we have Venezuela and Italy. That's the other semifinal game. So we got United States, Dominican Republic tonight, and then tomorrow we have Venezuela, Italy, and then on the 17th that'll be the final. So I don't know. It could be United States versus Italy. It could be United States versus Venezuela. Dominican Republic's damn good. United States, you cannot lose this game. This is your sport. You go out and win it, please, even though the Dominican Republic is stacked.
No, they definitely are. But I do feel like do you feel this way with Team USA when it comes to baseball? Not so much hockey, because that was a surprise, but definitely was for Team Canada. Do you feel like they don't enjoy it as much, like Team USA, where it's like we're expected to win, where the other countries, this means a whole hell of a lot. But for Team USA, the expectation is win or you're losers. And you also have, your day jobs of going back to your teams. Aaron Judge goes back to the Yankees. Bryce Harper goes back to the Phillies. Everybody. But do you feel like the other teams kind of enjoy it more, where there's more expectations and pressure for Team USA?
I definitely think so. And also the baseball culture is just different. The baseball culture is very much different in the Dominican Republic and Venezuela and especially the Caribbean and Latin American countries than it is in the United States. I'm not saying that the U.S. players don't have fun, but it's just not as full of emotion and flair and style the way that some of the Latin American countries have. But a lot of that does have to do, Derek, with the pressure that the USA faces. It's very similar to USA basketball in the Olympics, right?
Absolutely.
It's like, we got to go out there and take care of business because we will get pilloried if we come back and do not win.
It's more relief when you win. Like I remember like Mark Schlereth talking about that when they won the second Super Bowl with the Broncos, where it was like the first one was fun, second one was we did it. And we were supposed to do it. And that's just, not to mention just teams that are living in the moment right now. Team Italy with our guy Ron Wotus in the bench as a bench coach. Ned Coletti is the GM there, so very, very Italian. But them just like having fun, Listen to Sinatra on the dugout. They have an espresso machine in the dugout as well. So look at them having fun right now. But yeah, Team USA beating Canada. It just keeps getting worse for Canada against the USA, and we're still seeing the benefits of that as Team USA beat Canada. Macklin Celebrini being on Team Canada, you could tell he was devastated when that loss happened, and now he's taking it out on every Canadian team. As yesterday, the Sharks win 2 in a row.
Mhm.
They beat the Boston Bruins on Thursday, and then last night they beat the Montreal Canadiens 4-2. Three more points from Macklin Celebrini, 2 goals, and then in an hour and 30 minutes they're taking on Ottawa today. So, how much have you been watching the Sharks this year, Alon?
Been watching a lot of Sharks hockey. It's been up and down. It was especially down post Winter Olympics. I mean, they really needed these past 2 wins. And then, by the way, everybody saw that goal against the Bruins, right? I mean, that was insane.
Oh,
but
William Eklund? That's the goal. I mean, I don't watch a ton of hockey. I only watch the Sharks, but people are saying that's the goal of the year, where it was Bobby Orr-like, where if you know the goal in the 70s, he made a game-winning goal for the Stanley Cup. He really jumps in the air because of celebration, where William Eklund maneuvers his body almost Patrick Mahomes-like to get the puck in the net.
We only see guys like Mahomes make a play like that.
Now here's a guy in Eklund who I like. I don't like a lot of hockey. I like Slapshot the movie, but you gotta like William Eklund. Happy Gilmore was a hockey player too, Tarico.
He would, yeah. Mike would be like, "Oh, third down." But this is a great thing about the Sharks. They're able to get off the schneid, which is great. They're able to put together 2 more wins, which is awesome. But here's the big thing. So right now they're in the wild card. They would have that they would have that last wild card spot in the Western Conference. But the great thing for the Sharks right now, they've played less games than everybody else who's ahead of them. And I think they've actually played the least amount of games in the entire Western Conference.
Oh.
And yeah, they've played 64 where everybody else has at least played 65. So Utah, who's right ahead of them in that first wild card spot, they have 3 games in hand on Utah. They have 3 games in hand in the Pacific on Edmonton. They have 2 in hand on Anaheim and 3 for the Golden Knights. I'm not saying that they're going to catch the Golden Knights, but that's only a 2-win differential right now. Vegas is only 6 points ahead of them. So if the Sharks are able to really do well down the stretch here in those last 18 games that they have, let's just say they win, I don't know, 11 of them, maybe 12. That would be pretty good. Go 12 and then have some overtime losses or whatever the case is, or even 11 of them. There's a really good chance that the Sharks are maybe that 2nd or 3rd seed in the Pacific. But it is going to take some work. Biggest issue with this team is they need great goalie performances. The offense is completely carried by Celebrini and the other youngsters, which is great to watch, but the goal differential is still not there. Although that stat is becoming less and less important in hockey, even though it is still a really good indicator of how good your team is. If you look at like the Buffalo Sabres or the Carolina Hurricanes, but the Sharks need to figure out a way to make it so they're not a wild card team. If they can figure out a way to secure one of those bottom 2 seeds in the Pacific, that would be very, very fortuitous for them, and maybe get a 2nd round run instead of just a 1st round exit.
I would say baby steps, Alon. I hear you, but I would just want them to make the postseason at this point. Where a year ago and for a while now, the Sharks have not been a great team. And this is the first year we see them ascending. If they make the postseason, fantastic. And I think that just at that point, you're just happy with whatever the outcome is because this team is still growing and learning how to win. If they don't make the playoffs, that would be disappointing. It would be because there's a lot of momentum and the Bay Area is catching on to Sharks mania. The tank is full right now. It's always electric. I can't wait to go there. As Mac Van says, he's going to be there April 6th. He won a contest with KNBR. We're going to be there in the suite, getting you ready for the Chicago Blackhawks and the San Jose Sharks. So looking forward to that. But yeah, right now with their play, I mean, Macklin Celebrini's unbelievable. And you're seeing right now he's up there with Sidney Crosby and Connor McDavid. Mm-hmm. And the young guys on the team, too, we mentioned Michael Misa and Will Smith, William Eklund, Connor Graff, all these guys. You're just seeing what they're capable of, not to mention some of the veterans they have on the team as well. There is a big drop-off, in my opinion, when they go from Nedeljkovic to Askarov. Nedeljkovic is the better veteran, Askarov is still learning. He's had his moments, but when they have shootouts, he's the goalie that gives up the most goals in those situations. I don't know the proper way to say that, but he's just not as good as Nedeljkovic at this point. Getting Kiefer Sherwood was a good addition. They signed him to a contract extension too, so they'll be tested this week. Again, good win last night against the Canadiens, a good young and up-and-coming team as well. They play Ottawa today, who I think has always been relatively bad, but they're having a pretty good season as well. And then they have the Oilers coming up on Tuesday, and then they go back home to play the Sabres. Back home against the Sabres later this week. So Sharks are fun, man. Sharks are a lot of fun.
No, they are. And Ottawa is having a decent season. They're kind of in that same position that the Sharks are. They're just on the outside looking at the wild card in the East. But it would be a shame if the Sharks found a way not to make the playoffs, because that would mean no Hart Trophy for Macklin Celebrini. I think if they're able to make the playoffs, regardless of whether they're a wild card or they take one of those two spots in the Pacific, either the 2 or the 3 would be more realistic, that he should definitely win the Hart. But we will see. And you mentioned some of the veterans too. I mean, Tyler Toffoli, he's been great for the Sharks this year. It's been a really it was about a 4.5-year rebuild for the Sharks, maybe about 4 years, and they were finally able to put it together. So we should be very happy. It's also really nice that the tank is full again, because when that place is empty, it is not fun. Yeah. So when it's full and you got what is that? San Pedro Street. Forget what the name of the street is there, right?
San Pedro Square.
San Pedro Square, over where all the bars are and everything, and it's just such a fun time. So get on board with Sharks hockey. Some of my favorite sports memories and most disappointing sports memories are with Sharks hockey. So I'm looking forward to it. Just can't say enough about Macklin though. I've watched a lot of hockey over the years, and he's amazing. He is like Sidney in some ways. He has the passing ability and the foresight of what's happening, like a Joe Thornton, if we want to go to a Sharks great assist man. But he's also a two-way forward in the way that Pavel Datsyuk was for Detroit. I mean, defensively, he is so damn good. He's among the league leaders when it comes to taking the puck off of other players. So he does it all, and it's incredible. He's only 19.
Well, we're excited. Dirty Work, the radio show I work on at KMBR, is going out to the tank on April 6th. Me, Adam Copeland, and Tim Webb, and our guy Mac Van, who won a contest, will be joining us. So come on out. And Mac Van says, might have to take it easy on dipshit Derek that day. Don't want to embarrass him in front of the company. Well, I appreciate that, Mac Van. And dipshit Derek's just a nice term, I guess, from I haven't watched the new season of Stranger Things, but I don't think I will, because I've heard it's not great. I watched every season so far, but I really have no desire to watch almost 10 hours of Stranger Things when it's just mediocre. But thank you, Mac Van. Mac Van's a sweetheart too. He gives us a bunch of gifts when he comes out to some of these shows. And then Pat H says, what? I didn't even know this was on. Yeah, I got to be more clear. So I know that we did a lot of shows this past week. Going forward, we are going to stick with Wednesday nights at 7:15 and Sundays at 11. So going forward, so everybody knows, I know there was some confusion this week, but it's going to be Wednesdays at 7:15 and Sundays at 11 for the remainder of the offseason, unless something else happens. But which, by the way, in a couple weeks, I won't be able to do Wednesday at 7 o'clock because we got the Giants opener in a couple weeks against the Yankees. So we'll change that up. But for the here and now, usually it's going to be Wednesday, 7:15, Sundays at 11. All right, Alon, before we get out of here, let's do a little Jackass of the Week. Do you have anybody for this week?
I do. It's the easiest pick of all time. It's Eric DaCosta.
You and me are simpatico on that one.
Yeah, it was Eric DaCosta, and it probably still would have been him, but then him having that presser, I think like a day after the trade gets nixed, where he's like, just things we saw, and right after you sign Trey Hendrickson, I was like, bro, you've just stamped yourself as Jackass of the Week. Thank you.
Yeah, no, again, like he can do this. Again, like it's within the rules, and if he wants to be this type of GM, by all means, man, go for it. But I don't have to like it, and I don't think that you should make a move with 2 first-round picks if you're still skeptical about the knee. You should have made that. You should have like cleared the runway for teams that were all in on Maxx Crosby. When if you were just going to fail him on the physical, I got to believe the Chicago Bears, the Dallas Cowboys, or even I've heard the Jacksonville Jaguars were all in on Maxx Crosby, and physical be damned, they wanted him on the football team. So now you screw that up for everybody else. You screwed it for the Raiders. You screwed it for Maxx Crosby, but now the Raiders get Maxx Crosby back, and he's a motivated player. But yeah, Eric DeCosta, I just didn't like the way he did that, where he didn't like giving up 2 first-round picks, where you really shouldn't have offered that in the first place if you're going to rescind the trade. Just lame move, jackass move. But then again, it's within your rights to do that.
It
right.
is. Oh, sorry, Derek. I was going to say
Go
the
ahead.
line that really got me with DaCosta was in one of those pressers where he said,
I'm gutted by this.
that one. Yeah. But he also said, I'm looking forward to a quiet weekend with my wife, who probably hasn't seen me since the season ended in a lot of ways. The season only ends in one way. We've always been a draft focused team. We have 11 picks. We got a lot of work to do. Then he says this: it doesn't mean we're not going to be looking at some players over the next couple of weeks. We will be. We'll probably have some players visit. We'll look at some guys. Are we going to go out and break the bank? Probably not. Like, what the hell are you doing?
Which makes me believe the whole thing with them saying we wanted Trey Hendrickson to play with Maxx Crosby. Stop lying.
Yeah, we're probably not going to break the bank. You're a team that has a real chance to be really damn good. Well, maybe not now, but you'll still be good with Lamar, of course. But you can't go out and say stuff like that.
I still think they're going to be good, Maxx Crosby or not. It just, you go from being a really good team to being a contender and putting yourself over the top. And that's where I think the Baltimore Ravens will stay where they are. That would have been a huge move to have Maxx Crosby. I know that, yes, for the long haul, maybe he's not going to be there. But I don't know. That's something the Raiders have to consider too, and other teams that will inquire about him. But just a bad look. I know the Raider fans, and you're happy too, Alon, that he's back on the football team. But to have that trade and then just like, no, sorry, we're out. Like that's just lame to me. So yeah, jackass move by Eric DaCosta. Pop culture catch up. I guess we can spend this on the Oscars. So I know you watch the Oscars every year, Alon. Do you try to watch all the Oscar movies?
I do. It's hard to get through them all, but I will at least try to watch all the Best Picture nominees, and I usually cap it at that. But at least, hey, there's some good ones. Like, I still haven't seen the Frankenstein movie. I haven't seen that either. It's one of the ones I need to watch. I also need to watch F1, and I didn't see Marty Supreme.
Marty Supreme, solid. It's probably one of my favorite movies of the year. F1's a fun movie. I don't think that it's a Best Picture winner. It's very Top Gun-like, Top Gun Maverick with, F1 racing. But if you didn't see it in theaters, it won't be the same watching it in your home, but it is fun. So yeah, as far as the Best Picture nominees, do you have a favorite? Because I think the overwhelming favorite's One Battle After Another. You saw that one?
Yeah. So I think One Battle After Another probably does take it. I want it to go to Frankenstein because I really like Guillermo del Toro, but there's no way that that's getting picked. It's just not going to happen.
Doesn't sound like it. I think that, I watched it again last night. One Battle After Another. I think it's Paul Thomas Anderson's not his best movie, because I still like Boogie Nights more, and even Magnolia and There Will Be Blood. Punch Drunk Love with Adam Sandler is really good too. But this is his this is like his Tarantino movie, where it's definitely talking about the times today, and I think it's equally powerful, but also hilarious. I told Steven, I can't imagine just how goofy it is in parts. I think DiCaprio is a great performance. I don't think he's going to win Best Actor. I do think Sean Penn's probably going to get Best Supporting Actor. He's a pretty good villain as Colonel Lockjaw in that movie. I think Paul Thomas Anderson gets Best Director and Best Adapted Screenplay. But yeah, as far as the best movies of the year, I would say that's up there. I thought it was original and different and entertaining. And watching it in a packed theater here in Oakland, it was a lot of fun.
That sounds like a good time. Yeah, watching I think always it's best to watch movies, certain movies with the theater being packed, as long as everybody's quiet. Now, certain movies, I want to go there. I don't want anybody else there when I'm there. I just want to watch alone in the theater.
Really?
Yeah, because I've had so many experiences where, like, because I watch a lot of horror movies. So who do you get in horror movies? You get people like me who are like, oh, I'm so juiced up for this horror movie. And then you get freaking teenagers and young kids
screaming all the time.
Being an old man. I don't mind if they're screaming, but they're on their freaking phones and like, oh, this movie sucks. And I'm like, this is the 9th installment of Halloween, and it's all I have to look forward to in my life. So can you let me watch my movie in peace?
By the way, I did see Scream 2 the other night. Pretty good. Like I know they're very old, like they're like 96, 97. Scream 2 is a lot of fun. And it's, again, it's a spoof on horror movies. I think it's done very well, actually. I've heard bad things about Scream 3, but I'll keep going with the Scream franchise. It's actually pretty entertaining. It's kind of like the Fast and Furious of horror movies, I guess.
Yeah, and there's a few franchises like that. Saw definitely gets into that direction. Scream really does. I love Fast and Furious. I think Fast and Furious is my favorite movie franchise. It's either that or Transformers. No, it's actually Alien, but then it's Fast and Furious and Transformers.
Dude, we're still waiting on that. Was it Fast X Part 2? Where I thought they were made together, and I thought it was going to come out right after the next one. What's taking so long?
I don't know. I
probably more drama between The Rock and Vin Diesel.
That's what I think. They're both the leading men are like, no, I'm buffer, I'm balder, I'm older, and that's the arguments going on there. Another quick thing on pop culture. It's more of a pop culture rewind, but it's the 40th anniversary this year of Aliens coming out. So everybody go watch Aliens if you haven't seen it. The second one. I happen to like Alien a bit more. Just like I like Terminator more than Terminator 2, even though T2 is an amazing movie. But Aliens is great. You got Michael Biehn. Sigourney Weaver, of course, is in it as well as Ripley. And you have Bill Paxton. Game over, man. Game over. I mean, you got to go watch. Aliens is incredible.
Real quick on the Oscars tonight. So I do think one battle after another is going to win. Did you see this whole thing where Timothée Chalamet was the overwhelming favorite to get Best Actor
for Marty Supreme?
For Marty Supreme,
yeah.
And I think a close second for a while was either going to be DiCaprio or Ethan Hawke, who was in Blue Moon. I saw that on Airplane. It's fine. It's well done. It's basically like a play, but he's actually really good in it. Good script. Richard Linklater, who's from UT, great director over the years, did School of Rock and Days of Confused. But now there's a lot of drama with Timothée Chalamet because I guess in an interview with Matthew McConaughey, he shit on he shitted on the opera and plays. Not plays, what was it? Opera and something else. Opera and ballet, saying those forms of entertainment people don't care about. And how people are like, how dare he, how dare he speak disparagingly of the arts? And I'm like, guys, he's younger, and also like he's not wrong. It's just an interview. He's sitting in an interview. He's not wrong.
No, like he's not.
In comparison to movies and concerts, anything else, stand up. Yes, it's classy. There's stuff that comes with going to a performance like that, like the opera or ballet. But let's be honest. It's just not his cup of tea, and he's entitled to say that. I don't think he's shitting on the whole art form. He's just saying, I personally don't care about it, and the majority of people don't care about it. So now people are saying like he's not going to win the Oscar because of that Michael B. Jordan's the favorite. I got to be honest. I like Sinners a lot. I don't think Michael B. Jordan had a Oscar-winning performance. Should it win like Best Screenplay? Yes. But I will be surprised if Michael B. Jordan wins the award just because Timothée Chalamet spoke his mind a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, I don't know how much weight they'll put into that, but I didn't know Timothée Chalamet said that. Very interesting. Look, I've only seen a couple of ballets in my entire life. I think both were the Nutcracker, and
that's usually the go-to.
Yeah, and I've only been to the opera like maybe once. So yeah, maybe people just don't care. I mean, I clearly am not a large fan, but yeah, I that's hilarious. That's the one I would say that's the one venue too that you probably shouldn't be crapping all over when you're up for what's considered a prestigious arts award in an adjacent industry. So we'll see how that works out for Timothy. As far as Ethan Hawke goes, because I know he was in Blue Moon. I don't even think that was the best movie he was in this past calendar year. I think it was Black Phone 2. So back with the horror theme, go watch Black Phone, Derek. And
I hear he's really good in that as the bad guy.
He's amazing. No, it's great. And Black Phone 2, probably not as good as Black Phone 1, but still really awesome.
All righty. Well, we'll be watching the Oscars tonight, and we also got the WBC tonight as well. And we got the Warriors taking on the Knicks.
Not watching that. That's on NBC. That's NBC Sunday night.
It's the NBC Sunday night game. Dude, the new TV arrangements with the NBA still throw me off. Where last night I'm watching really fun game between the Lakers and Nuggets that went to overtime. Incredible shot by Luka Doncic to get the win. It still throws me off, though, that we get Ernie, Shaq, Kenny, and Chuck after an ABC primetime game.
Yeah. Oh, because they're ESPN now.
They're ESPN now. Yeah. I'm still expecting like Stephen A. Smith and Kendrick Perkins to have a horrible pre and post game show, but now we get an upgrade. I'm like, oh, I forgot about this. But yeah, the Warriors, I'll put them on. They'll be on the split screen with the WBC thanks to YouTube TV, and I'll have the other TV on the Oscars.
Yeah, it's just hard. And if you watch the promotional material for that, if you've seen any of the promotional build up for this big Sunday night game, it's been all Draymond Green on all.
That's all they have. That's all
I know, but I'm just like, oh yeah, that's what I got to get excited about. Go put on the Draymond jersey.
Yeah, well, we'll see when Steph returns. All right, everybody, that's it for today. Thanks to everybody in the chat. Thanks to your boy Q Myers joining us from Raider Nation Radio and the Lockdown Raiders podcast, talking about Maxx Crosby. We'll be back on Wednesday at 7:15. Me and Alon talking about whatever there is in sports. We'll talk a little football, but everybody can tell Rocket New Era to cool his jets and come back to the chat if he wants to. But for those that actually joined the chat today, and AJ Cruz if he wants to as well, but I guess they're boycotting the show right now. Whatever. Thanks to Ernie One. Thanks to Mac Van. Thanks to the Pat H Crap section. Thanks to Tacky. Thanks to, as I scroll up here, the Skills Report. Thank you, Skills. Thanks to Chewy Raiders coverage. And, of course, thanks to the one and only Tribe 69 dudes, always telling me that I make them creamy, whoever they are. All right, everybody, we will see you Wednesday. Alon, say what you always say, my friend.
Mac Van, Sinners is overrated. That's what you said, but that's just your opinion, man.